So even though we're still in a measure phase, when you're doing a process map, you're getting this kind of detailed information about how the people are doing their job. It's normal to start thinking about improvement. So why are you doing this way, right? So I told you guys the example on the cleaning equipment project, capstone project that I did with the hospital, and the all the cleaning was in the second floor, and people had to pick up this material in different. It was like 4 different buildings, many floors. It's a huge hospital in Charlotte. So one question that the group started asking was, why do we need to go and pick everything up and go back and clean in the second floor and then bring it back again, the cleaning one? Why can't they just clean in actually the floors that you're doing it? Or why, instead of going up and down many floors, why don't each employee do one floor all over, and then the other one do another floor, and then dedicated for each floor, right? So these are things that happen. They're normal, that you start questioning and start coming with the ideas, and that's the improvement phase, right? Not part of the measure. But just not to kind of lose the thought here with the process map. There's usually a lot of improvements that you kind of realize when you understanding what's going on, right? So thinking about the future state, the goal is not to think about what it should be done, but what it's being done now, and how can we improve that task, and who can perform it, how can I improve the performance, and write down the ideas, right? So we have the parking lot ideas and put them there and start questioning while you're doing the process map. That's okay. So we're going to find out if when you do this improvement project for the first time, you realize that the steps are not as linear as your faculty told you they were, right? It's not define, begin, finish, measure, begin, finish, analyze, begin, finish, improve, begin, finish, and control, begin, finish. Is measure, then start, define, start measuring it while you're still finishing define, and then measure and analyze being done at the same time, and a little bit of improve. So you presented everything sequentially and nicely, because you want to explain it in a logical way, and the demic phases are a logical way to understand the project and the improvement for someone that's looking at the first time. But when you're doing it, you don't need to go so sequential. So what's going to happen is, during your measure, you're going to get some ideas, and you put it in the parking lot, and start writing it down, start questioning, and then when you're structuring, you're not going to put it on measure. You're going to put it in improve, just because it will make more sense when you're explaining it, right? So trying to understand, you can do brainstorming to discuss future ideas. You can think about potential gains and softwares that you can use, right? But generally speaking, you've taken the current state and you try to make it easier and more simple, more direct, with less time, less resources, more quality. So you're trying to improve the current state, right? Doing it quick and easy, right? So it's probably is going to have less steps into the process. You'll be able to simplify some of those things, maybe automate some steps, consolidate. That's kind of what this one is showing us. And just to understand that people are doing the best they can. So you need to go there very kind of a lot of patience and understanding that you're criticizing someone's job. So be mindful of how to do that, and to do it in a way that's nicer and the person doesn't look bad, right? That's kind of one advice. So here are some kind of quick tips. Remember that the people that are doing the job will give you information about what's going on. Generalities are our enemy, right? We want to detail and specific information, because generalities don't allow us to improve anything. Gathering data with more than one approach, doing primary and secondary and flip and flop to kind of be sure. And many times we have to ask the same question because we got different answers from different people, and say, okay, but what's going on, right? And that happens quite often. You ask someone who's doing saying one thing, the other person say another thing, and say, okay, who is right? So we have to ask sometimes the question again and again, just to see if if it actually match or what is actually the truth, right? Uh, Quantification equals to relevance. So we're going to talk a lot about data and collecting data and the importance of data to prove our point. When we get more to the kind of quantitative part of measure, validate with sponsors and with management, and it's a visual process mapping is very kind of a visual tool, right? So be sure that we profit from the advantage of using this kind of methodology. So the final slides that we have, it's about simulation, which is basically after doing the swim lane, which is kind of beautiful, fantastic. Sometimes we use another tool called the process simulation. Process simulation is basically collecting data about the process and put it into a software, and the software will run different scenarios and tell you what's happened if the data is like this. What happened if you run it a million times or 1,000 times or 100 times? And we're going to learn how to do that using simulation. It's called the process model. But that's a very, very cool tool that you guys can use. Sometimes we use in projects, sometimes we don't. But to use in practice is also very, very nice because it gives you a lot of details about how some changes are going to impact in your output. Actually, right? And it's a very cool tool, process model. You actually need to download for future classes. But we're going to work with that also in the future.